All right, so I'll show you the picture of the colored version I did. And unfortunately, there was a glare the whole time and I didn't know. So I set this up on a tripod, and all I can see if it's recording or not, but it didn't work out. Okay, so I'm going to start with center line, as usual. Some of this stuff probably isn't a surprise anymore. I'm going to make a straight line across, and then see this angle. Make a little line at the bottom. Okay, so I want to make a line across here and then go to the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to use this. This is just a guide, but I'm going to follow the contour of the hair. So does this make sense when I would say that the hair helps to frame the face? So now I can see this is the whitest part of the face, and I'm going to make a line, and then it comes in here at the jaw. Here, there's just a little bit of space. Okay, now let me plot where the eyebrows are going to sit. Approximately, I'm doing a slight curve because I think that's what will help me see some of the relationships. And then okay, so I don't know if I talked to you about this, but triangles, if you look at the corner of the eye, let's do this with a pencil. If you look at the corner of the eye and you run to the center of the nose, that forms a little triangle. Does that make sense? So I'm going to do this visually and sort of guesstimate. There's the center of the nose. Okay. So this is where I'm going to place and I'm going to make a little circle for space. Curves in this direction. And again, I might have to make some changes, which I'm not sure if I left myself enough room, but that's okay. I could figure that out pretty quickly. Length of the tooth, bottom, space here, and then the chin. No, it's pretty close. If I have to change anything, I will. Okay, so let's get rid of the center line. And I'm just going to erase to where I think the eyes should start. Now I'm going to go around the whole thing and try to make some rounder decisions. Okay, let's zoom in a bit. So you won't be able to see very well since this is a video of from a device, but I can see that the top of the lid is moving in this downward direction. This has just a very slight downward, and then the eye is moving in an upward direction. So I'm going to start with just indicating the direction of the eyebrow. And I'm going to push up, so I think that space is too far, so just a little bit higher. And then, as a reminder, you see that curve, curve, down. Let's do the other side. I'm gonna move this up a bit. Give myself a little point of reference. The inside of the tear duct is on the outside of the nose. Okay, so I'm in range. Okay, so let's just put the shape of the eye in kind of a flat manner again. Let's make do a little nose work. Okay, so the bridge is actually in from that. Some of these are sort of temporary lines. Okay, so here's the inside part of the nose. A distinct separation here. And then the nostrils don't reach the same, meaning they're not all the way up to that line, they're just shy of that, so I gotta shorten them. Sometimes what I like to do to give myself a reminder to round things off is I'll actually kind of add some curve It's like trying to add a little ball here. More curve. Let's see, we're just on the inside of the eye. Okay. That's what I have so far. Okay, I made a small adjustment. I had to move this eye over to the right a little bit. It's just a little bit too close. Okay, so now I'll just start hatching. I don't have my other erasers though. It's really hard for me to put in that highlight. I don't know, probably fell out of my bag or something. But I have a different solution. I'll have to wait till it's basically almost done though. And I'm actually going to go over this a couple of times and probably smooth out some of my hatch marks. So this may change a bit. Okay, so I've decided to erase this and make the face a little bit wider at the bottom. Felt like it tapered too much, and I don't think it was long enough. So you can see my previous mark. I'm going down just a smidge. And if that doesn't look right, I'll change it. But it feels a little bit closer to what I see. Okay. Let's continue. You know, this is a kind of a difficult drawing because of the lighting situation. You have, it's not just that there's shadow on one side, but there's shadow below, and that requires lots of paying attention, so I'm not talking very much. There are certain lighting situations that I wouldn't say are more ideal, but they're definitely easier to work with, and they'll give you more predictable outcomes. Frontal lighting is not as predictable. Alright, let's work a little bit on the hair. I think what I would like to do is pull the lights out instead. In order to do that, I have to create some grays first. What's up, dude? Okay, let's continue. So, I want to increase some of these shadow shapes under the nose. Meaning I want to make them darker. The other thing about the lighting is lighting can make things harder or easier. So in this case, it's a little bit harder. But also, she has fair skin, so you have to be very careful with fair skin as not to like draw lines, age lines in too deeply. You know, even if you can see them, the goal is to draw an impression of what you see, not necessarily a description, meaning you don't sit there and stare at somebody's eye while they're talking to you. What you see is their whole face and an impression. When you're drawing, you kind of might be dancing around specific areas, so you have longer time to sit there and look at what's going on. And so you just remember not to develop like some myopia about this whole thing, because if you spend too much time in one area and you over render it, it'll look bad. Or at the very least, your wife won't be very happy with what you've done. So I have a couple of portraits of my wife that I've done, and they have varying degrees of success. And if she's very quiet, she's being polite and she doesn't like it. So anyway, she's a pretty good sport though. She's always willing to pose. All right, let's do a little bit of the mouth. I feel like I may have mentioned that even somebody who can draw phenomenally, it's almost, I've never seen somebody draw some teeth and made it look good. So what I like to do is kind of give a vague interpretation of the teeth, meaning I don't draw the lines between. What would be helpful is indicate the gums. So these shapes up here, that's fine. And then skip and then just draw these little shadow shapes. And I feel like that's sufficient without being overly descriptive, because even somebody, like I said, even somebody who can draw better than I can, if your teeth are not perfectly straight, which I don't know anyone's teeth who are perfect, just because it's drawn, it will look weird because of the medium. The nature of the medium just gives it a different effect. It's not a photograph. And oftentimes people's teeth will look like picket fences. So, like I say, just be careful. If you find that you can get away with drawing some lines, then that's probably okay. But the more you push it, meaning the darker you make some of these lines, I would wager to say that you're getting closer to something that you probably aren't gonna like the end result of. You know, when you look up close at people's photographs, you can see that somebody might spend a lot of time laughing or frowning. If you have furrowed eyebrows, concerned looks. And so these are all laughter lines. And so I think even, this is a little bit off the topic of drawing, but that's kind of what gives somebody an approachable appearance. Things that you might not give second thought to. So I want to try something different with the hair here in a minute. I have my little paper towel, so I'm going to kind of blend it all in and then go in with my eraser and pull out some of the lights. Also, remember some of these things are a little bit difficult to convey with pencil. And, this is a sketch. There's a lot of complexity going on, hair going in different directions that you're going to have to sacrifice some of those things, meaning you're going to have to be okay with omitting them for the sake of time, for the sake of simplicity, and for the sake of learning. Those things are very specific to finish work, and I think it's probably more important to learn how to start a drawing, even if it's not perfect, as long as it takes you in the right direction. So when I blend, I never leave it blended. I always go over the top of it again with the pencil, because otherwise it doesn't look blended, but rather it'll look smudged. Okay, so let's do a little work here on these accents, these darker shadows. A lot of times what you'll see is they're the necessary thing to bring the whole face forward. Sorry, I had to move. There's a glare. It's always that darned glare. I'll show you that picture of, I did a color one, which I think turned out a little bit better than this one. So even a couple of lines kind of activates. Seems to. Even a couple of lines here kind of starts to activate the whole space. Gives it just a little bit more context. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Oh, let me show you what I was gonna do. Sorry. So very, very lightly, kind of unify. Okay. And then go in with your eraser and just pull out some of those lights. And I'm not pulling out any individual strands, but rather groups of light. Slight angle. I think I can make this eye darker. Go back a bit. Anyway, hope you found this helpful. I'll send you a picture of the color version, which I kind of preferred, but either way, it's an okay sketch.